In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the next scheduling algorithm, which is the multi-level queue scheduling. So in the previous lectures, we have covered various scheduling algorithms, and we have seen how they work and we have seen their features. And we have seen how the scheduling algorithms were working among different processes. Now in this multi-level queue scheduling, we are not only going to talk about scheduling among different processes, but we are also going to talk about scheduling among group of processes. A class of scheduling algorithms has been created for situations in which processes are easily classified into different groups. So, if we are able to classify our processes into different groups, for this kind of processes, there are a class of scheduling algorithms that has been created, and multi-level queue scheduling is one of them. So when we say that we are classifying processes into different groups, what do we mean by that? So let's take an example to understand what we mean by this classification. So here let's say that, for example, we have classified our processes into these two different groups. One is the foreground processes or the interactive processes, and the other one is the background processes or the batch processes. So the foreground processes are the processes that are running in the foreground and are in direct interaction with the user. So these processes need to be quick and they have to be interactive. And the background processes are the processes that are running in the background and may not be in direct interaction with the user. So these processes doesn't have to be as fast as the foreground processes. So depending upon the type of processes they have different response time requirements, and hence they have different scheduling needs. So since their response time requirements are different, as I said, for foreground processes they need to be quick, and for background processes they don't have to be as quick. So because their response time requirements are different, they also have different scheduling needs. And in addition to that, foreground processes may have priority externally defined over background processes. So that is what I just said. Since the foreground processes have to be interactive and have to be quick, their priority will be higher than that of the background processes. So as these foreground processes are the processes that are in constant interaction with the user, and if these processes ends up waiting in the ready queue for a long time, waiting to get the CPU, then what will happen? The response time of these processes will become long, and hence it is going to be a slow experience for the user. The user is going to have a slow user experience because the process with which they are directly interacting itself are very slow. So we have to make sure that the priority of the foreground processes are higher than that of the background processes so that the users can have a quick interaction with the system. So this is an example where processes are classified into different groups, and we see that different groups are having different scheduling needs. So here is when multi-level queue scheduling comes into picture. So what the multi-level queue scheduling will do is, the multi-level queue scheduling algorithm partitions the ready queue into several separate queues. So these processes belonging to different groups will be partitioned into several separate queues. So in all the scheduling algorithms that we have discussed earlier, we have seen that we have only one queue, that is a ready queue. But in this multi-level queue scheduling, from the name itself, we can now understand that there are going to be multiple queues, and these multiple queues are meant for these processes that are classified into different groups. And then scheduling will take place within these queues, and also scheduling will take place among these queues. So let us see how that is done. So as we have said, the multi-level queue scheduling will partition the ready queue into several separate queues, and then the processes are permanently assigned to one queue, generally based on some property of the process such as memory size, process priority, or process type. So after partitioning the ready queue into several different queues, each process will be assigned permanently to one queue. So we'll be having different queues, and let's say, for example, processes having the same level of priorities may be put into one queue, and they will permanently belong to that queue. And let's say that processes that are having the same memory size will be put to another queue, and they will be permanently assigned to that queue. So depending upon the process type, the processes will be permanently assigned to one queue. And then each queue has its own scheduling algorithm. So this is the most important thing here. Each queue will have its own scheduling algorithm. So we have discussed about many scheduling algorithms in the previous lecture, and one of these scheduling algorithms will be applied to each of these queues. So one queue may be following one algorithm, the other queue may be following another algorithm, and so on. So depending upon their need, they will have different scheduling algorithms. So here let's take an example. Separate queues may be used for foreground and background processes. So this is what I showed you in the first slide itself. We were classifying the processes based on the foreground processes and background processes. So let's say that there are separate queues for the foreground processes and the background processes. The foreground processes belong to one queue and the background processes belong to another queue. And then the foreground queue may be scheduled by an RR algorithm while the background queue is scheduled by an FCFS algorithm. So remember what I told you about the foreground and background processes in the beginning. Foreground processes need to be interactive. They are the interactive processes. So they need to be quick. We cannot afford them waiting for a long time in the queue. So they have to be quick. And in order for them to be quick, what can we do? There need to be a proper time sharing between them. So if we are having a proper time sharing between them, they will be quick and they will be interactive. So which is the best scheduling algorithm that we can use? So among all the scheduling algorithms that we have discussed so far, the best scheduling algorithm that best suits for time sharing is the round robin scheduling algorithm. So for scheduling the foreground queue, we may use the round robin algorithm, while the background queue is scheduled by a first come first serve scheduling algorithm. So the background processes, as I told you, they are not the interactive processes and it's okay for them to wait some time in the queue. It's not a big deal. So we can use the first come first serve scheduling algorithm in that case. So when we have discussed about first come first serve scheduling algorithm, we have seen that the waiting times are sometimes longer in this algorithm. But since they are background processes in this case, we can afford that. We don't mind that. It's not a big deal. So we can use the first come first serve scheduling algorithm for the background queue, and the foreground queue will be scheduled using the round robin scheduling algorithm. So here we see that different queues are following a different scheduling algorithm. Each queue has its own scheduling algorithm. That is what we just saw now. And in addition to this, there must be scheduling among the queues, which is commonly implemented as fixed priority preemptive scheduling. For example, the foreground queue may have absolute priority over the background queue. So what we mean by this is that so far we have been talking about scheduling among processes that are in a particular queue. So we talked about processes in the foreground queue are going to be scheduled using round robin algorithm. That means all the processes in the foreground queue will be scheduled using a round robin scheduling algorithm among themselves. And the processes in the background queue will be scheduled by a FCFS algorithm among themselves. So here what we mean is that there also must exist a scheduling among the queues. So we see that the foreground queue is one queue and the background queue is another queue, and let's say that there are some more queues like that containing some processes. Now among these queues there must again be some scheduling. So that is what we are talking about here. And usually and most commonly, this scheduling is implemented as a fixed priority preemptive scheduling. So what we mean by this is each of these queues will be having a fixed priority, and based on this priority, they will be scheduled. So we have already talked about the priority scheduling, and we saw there is a preemptive priority scheduling. That means if processes of higher priority than the one that is presently executing arrives, then the currently executing process will be preempted and the CPU will be given to the process that has just arrived. Now let's apply that to the queue. So here we are having different queues. So we have to apply that to the different queues here. So each of these queues are having a priority, and then the processes will be preempted if processes belonging to a higher priority queue comes while a process in a lower priority queue is executing. So don't worry about this. We'll be taking another example and this will become clear. So for example, the foreground queue may have absolute priority over the background queue. So we have already discussed this. We have said that the foreground queue has the higher priority as compared to the background queue. So if some background processes are executing in the background queue, and if a foreground process arrives, then what will happen? There is a foreground queue that is formed, and then the process that is executing in the background queue will be preempted because a new queue has arrived with higher priority than that of the background queue. So this is what happens. There is a scheduling among the queues themselves. So keep in mind, there is scheduling among the processes within the queue, and also there is scheduling among the queue themselves. So that is what we mean by multi-level queue scheduling. So we'll take an example to make this clearer. So here is an example of a multi-level queue scheduling algorithm with 5 queues listed below in order of priority. So here is an example. Here we are having 5 queues, and these queues consist of different processes. And then the queues here, they are listed in order of priority. That means the first queue here has the highest priority, then the second one has the next highest priority, and it goes down like that, with the last queue having the lowest priority. So here we are going to have a multi-level queue scheduling. So we see that the processes belonging to this system processes queue are the processes with the highest priority. And then the interactive processes belonging to this queue are the processes having the next highest priority. And then below that we have this interactive editing processes with the next highest priority. Then we have the batch processes and the student processes. So mind you, these are all queues, and within these queues we have processes. So in this kind of a scenario, let's take the example of this lowest priority process. So the lowest priority process is the student process. So these student processes in this student queue will not be able to execute until and unless all the queues above it are empty. So only if all the queues above it are having no processes in them, only then the student processes will be allowed to execute, because this is of the lowest priority. Now, how are the processes within these queues executed? They may be having some other scheduling algorithm, maybe first come first serve or round robin or any other scheduling algorithms. So they may be executed within themselves, within the queue with different scheduling algorithms. But we also see that there is a scheduling happening among the queue themselves. That is a fixed priority preemptive scheduling. So as I said, the student processes will only be able to execute when all the other queues are empty. Now let's take another example. Let's take the example of this batch processes. So let's say that the batch processes are having some processes in it which are ready to be executed, and also there are some processes in this student processes which are also ready to be executed, and all the other queues above this are empty. So if you see among student processes and batch processes, which queue is having the higher priority? It is the batch processes. So the processes in the batch process queue will be allowed to do its execution because all the other queues above it with higher priorities are all empty. So the processes in the batch process queue begins its execution, and while it is executing, let's say that there is a process that arrives into this interactive editing process queue. So there is a process that arrives which belongs to the interactive editing process queue. Now what happens? We see that this queue is having a higher priority as compared to the queues below it, which are the batch and the student processes. And which is a process that is currently executing? I told you it is a process from this batch process. But since a process has arrived in a queue which is of higher priority, what will happen? The process that was executing from the batch process queue will be preempted. That means the CPU will be taken away from it, and the CPU will be given to the process that has currently arrived in the interactive editing process queue. So after this process completes its execution, if there are no other processes in these queues above or in this, then the process in this batch process will be allowed to do its execution. And similarly, when the processes in this batch processes have completed their execution, if there are any processes in this student process queue, then that will be allowed to execute. So hence we see that there is a scheduling happening among the queues themselves. So that is what we mean by a multi-level queue scheduling. So we see that processes are classified into different queues, and then the processes within the queues are having scheduling among themselves, and also among the queues there are schedulings happening. So that is how multi-level queue scheduling works. So here we have not introduced any new scheduling algorithm as such, but we have seen that using the different scheduling algorithms that we have already studied, we have developed a type of scheduling algorithm that works between different classified groups of processes. So that is all about multi-level queue scheduling. I hope this was clear to you. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.